Hey, if you're reading this, I want you to know why I did it. It all started with getting rid of air travel. Then they ripped up the railroads. Finally, they got rid of inner-city roads. Towns were isolating themselves from each other. For safety, they said. And to make it official, they built the domes. Day 1, 6:48 a.m. It's a monumental occasion, and you don't want to miss it. After 5 years of construction, your town's dome was finally completed last night. It cost over $150 billion, but it was a smart investment in a self-sustaining future. Inspired by the dreams of yesteryear, there were ancient buildings with massive domes that stood for millennia. Then sports stadiums adopted this strongest of architectural shapes. Superdomes, they called them. Indoor sports resorts under the protection of a dome, like tropical islands in Germany. Giant biodomes and greenhouses, such as the Eden Project in the UK. The next step was only natural. Cover it all, the whole town. 7 a.m. on the dot. Your second alarm snaps you out of your thoughts, sitting there in bed waiting for the big moment. It's time for the first sunrise. It looks so real that you initially think something's wrong, that the dome is gone. But if you could see it up close from your downtown apartment, you'd notice the hexagonal plates. You can, of course. This thing is as tall as Everest. It takes 10 minutes for the sun to fully rise, and then the room is as light as if it were midday. You finish your coffee and toast and walk outside. You and everyone else in this town of 100,000. No more megacities like New York and London. They were broken up and put under domes of no more than 500,000 residents. Can't have too many people breathing all the oxygen, right? Some people are out jogging. Others are reading books on park benches. The weather's perfect, of course. It's a steady 71 degrees, what scientists found to be the most comfortable temperature for people. No more surprises from Mother Nature. She can be gorgeous, but also cruel and destructive. No, now humanity controls the weather. You spend the whole day walking around town, but the streets start to clear up after lunchtime. A half-hour rain shower is scheduled every day at 2:30 p.m. to water the crop fields. Day 2. Sunrise 7 a.m. Temperature 71 degrees. You always know what to wear. There are no more meteorologists, no more weather forecasts, no more getting caught in unexpected rain without an umbrella. There's only stability, safety, uniformity. You've decided to spend your Sunday with friends. You talk, laugh, and just enjoy each other's company. Nobody's distracted by a phone screen or social media notifications popping up every 2 seconds. Towns have been disconnected and closed up. There is no more internet. Day 3. Monday. Back to class. You get on your bike and make the short ride to campus. The roads are full of other commuters, other cyclists, kick scooters, skateboarders, walkers. No drivers. Cars emit exhaust fumes, and dome life can't afford that. You're majoring in civil engineering. Most universities have switched almost entirely to agricultural studies. Farmers, botanists, soil scientists, and the like. That's where all the jobs are in this little self-sustaining ecosystem. But you're interested in a particular internship. The best student in your faculty will be invited to work in the dome department. You're sitting there taking notes when all of a sudden the lights go out. The classroom, no, the entire town is in complete darkness. Your professor tries to keep everyone calm, but all you can think is, what if the light never comes back? It's the first time you've thought about it. You're under the dome, utterly dependent on it running smoothly. You feel so vulnerable. A couple of minutes in the darkness feel like centuries. But then, the sky starts to blink and the light comes back. All the students let out a sigh of relief. Seems you weren't the only one having those thoughts. That's when a message appears on the dome above and you hear a voice read it. Dear citizens, it seems the dome needs more energy than we expected. Please have patience as we try to figure out this issue. For the time being, we'll be restricting private use of electricity. Thank you for understanding. Day 6. Life under the dome went from stable, predictable perfection to major inconvenience. The electricity ration went from 60% to 30%, down to 15%, and finally none. You've been thrown back into the dark ages. No more refrigerators, TVs, and vacuum cleaners. The townspeople are patient, but that patience is running out fast. Day 8. They're now limiting daylight hours, and the daily rains aren't coming. Something terrible is going on with the dome. A lot of businesses have closed, classes are canceled, and tension is building up among the people as food runs slim. Day 10. Your cupboards are empty. Time to head to the grocery store. When you get there, the shock freezes you where you stand. The store is almost completely empty. No food, no soap, no nothing. You manage to find some canned goods that had rolled under a shelf. There's also one remaining bag of potatoes with gnats flying around it. Maybe there's some produce in another store. You walk to the one on the next street. Nothing. A third, empty. You go to every store in the area, only to be met with the same result. The city is out of food. That evening, you get another announcement from the Dome Department. They finally come up with a solution. They're going to start renovating the town to make space for more fields. They'll get rid of unnecessary facilities, and some people will need to move in with friends. It's not ideal, but it's better than being hungry. Day 23. The streets are mostly empty now. The few faces you see are usually quiet and gloomy. Must be the limited light. At least there's still air and water. But how long before those run out? Eeriness fills the town. Month 2. There's no money, no more stores, no buying. The community has switched to a barter system. Need a haircut? Pay someone with a head of lettuce. A few potatoes will buy you a newly sewn shirt if you can find some fabric. Month 3. Good news. They've made substantial progress on the town renovations. There are a little more crops, more food, and people are pretty well fed. Classes and businesses are opening back up. It seems the city might just survive this thing, but the residents' minds have already been shaken. At least your mind has. This isn't how the world should be. Cities need each other. They exchange services and goods. That's how you get development and progress. Humanity used to go to space, and now we can't even go to a neighboring town. You have to change something. Month 6. You're hitting the books harder than ever. The renovations are done, and your town looks like a whole different place. It's all covered in fields with corn, grain, and potatoes. 70% of the space in the dome is dedicated to crops. It feels like you're living in a greenhouse. You have mashed potatoes for breakfast, baked potatoes for lunch, and fried potatoes for dinner. You're sick of potatoes already. But at least hunger isn't a threat anymore. Nobody remembers what chocolate tastes like. Your graduation day is in a month, and it looks like you've got that internship in the bag. You wanted to work in the dome from the very beginning, but you want it even more now because you have to stop this. 1 year under the dome. You've been working in the dome's engineering department for a little over 5 months. You're a third shifter. Overnight staff work in pairs. Your partner fell asleep just before sunrise, and that's when you finally get your chance. You leave the room and walk to the main service room. They wanted to protect you, but there's nothing worse than isolation. You have to end this. The button is right in front of you. Your heart is beating out of your chest. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and hit it. A second later, you hear a scraping sound, and you can see the dome going down. The sky behind the descending walls is endless shades of orange, pink, and purple. Sunrise, not the digital one. And very soon, the whole town will wake up to the real sky and light summer breeze. You're back. And then you see the security guards approaching. Have to wrap this up now. Gotta go. Hey, pack your bags. We're going on a trip to visit 5 special regions on Earth. They're called blue zones, the areas where people seem to live longer than average. Let's see what makes them special. Our first stop, the charming villages in Sardinia, Italy. This region was the first to get the Blue Zone badge. Here, researchers found a surprising number of men who crossed the 100-year-old mark. What makes this even more impressive is the fact that, on average, men tend to live less than women do. Locals, mostly shepherds, walk an impressive 5 miles across mountainous terrains each day. As for the diet, it's made out of mostly plant-based foods. What's truly beautiful about this place, though, is its deep-rooted family culture, where elders are respected and loved. People in Sardinia believe their senior citizens are an essential part of the community. They understand that with age comes knowledge, so Sardinians treasure the wisdom that their elders provide, from farming tips to philosophical life advice. Seniors in Sardinia aren't just respected, they're also actively involved in day-to-day tasks. They're encouraged to lend a hand around the house, whether it's gardening, cooking, or taking care of the kids. In these communities, 2 or 3 generations often live together under the same roof, supporting each other. Even if the elderly move out, their families make it a point to check on them daily. Mealtime is also a family affair, with lunch being the most important. Just imagine a large table filled with homemade pasta, fresh salad, and a variety of cheeses. Most people come home from work to enjoy this hearty lunch with their families. Dinner, on the other hand, is lighter and served late in the evening. Simplicity and freshness are the heart of Sardinian cuisine. They don't overload their dishes with too many ingredients. Next, we fly to Okinawa, Japan, a place that boasts some of the world's longest living individuals. The people here live by the Japanese concept of ikigai, which means finding a purpose in life that benefits not just oneself, but the environment too. Another unique tradition is moai, which promotes strong social networks developed from childhood. They provide lifelong emotional and financial support for people in the community. In this Asian region, food does more than just fill one's tummy. Locals believe food can nourish not only your body, but also the spirit. Their language also shows us this appreciation for a good diet. They even have a special word that translates to "food is life's medicine." What do they eat, you might wonder? Loads of superfoods. In this Okinawan diet, some of these superfoods, like sugarcane or turmeric, are naturally grown, while others are cooked or even fermented. One such superfood is the goya, also known as bitter melon. This weird-looking fruit has a lot of vitamin C, iron, and potassium. You'll often find it in Okinawa's signature dish, a stir-fry. We all know having a positive mindset is just as important as feeling good in your body, right? Well, life in Okinawa is pretty chill. They've got a treasure trove of words that also reflect this laid-back lifestyle. Japan may be famous for its precise timing, but in Okinawa, they prefer to cherish the moment and live life at a more leisurely pace. Locals always help each other out, and they steer clear of superficial interactions. The people they invest in are their friends for life. Our next destination? Loma Linda, California, in the United States, where some individuals outlive their American counterparts by about 10 years. A large number of residents follow a plant-based diet, rich in grains, nuts, and legumes. Some also refrain from eating red meat, shellfish, refined foods, and caffeine. Caffeine? Wow! They also steer clear of unhealthy habits and maintain an active lifestyle well into their old age. How? By making exercise a part of their routine, almost 5 days every week. Exercise is our natural shield against many health conditions. But how much do we need to work out to become healthier? Science says it's enough to stick to the basics. Engage in medium-paced activities for up to 5 hours per week. It might earn you some extra years. But the recipe for a long life doesn't end there for Loma Linda citizens. The community spirit here is strong too. Most people here have the same routines and preferences, which makes lifelong friendships easier. People here also love lending a hand and volunteering. They also have a variety of clubs to join, if being a volunteer is not your thing. As the sun sets on Fridays, the city puts itself into airplane mode. Residents disconnect from their work, social media, and even their TVs. The pots and pans get a day off too, as they prep their meals early on Friday. That's because Saturday is the day to relax and rejuvenate in Loma Linda. From the U.S., let's head south to Nicoya in Costa Rica. The people here don't have particularly lavish lifestyles, but they do enjoy one of the highest life expectancies globally, 85 years on average. By comparison, the current global life expectancy is just a bit over 73 years. Their secret lies in their spiritual practices, close-knit families, and a unique plan de vida, or life plan that gives locals a sense of purpose. Plus, they eat healthy, unprocessed foods, drink calcium-rich hard water, and stay active through regular walks. One fascinating piece of evidence about people living in Nicoya comes from a molecular biologist. For starters, he had great conditions to perform his research on longevity there. That's because the Costa Rican authorities had an abundance of rigorously collected data spanning several decades. This goldmine of information painted a detailed picture of these people and their lives. The biologist believes he discovered an additional contributor to this amazing longevity. It has to do with little structures in the human bodies called telomeres. Picture them as tiny DNA caps at both ends of our chromosomes, safeguarding our precious genetic information. Every time cells multiply and divide, these DNA caps are at risk of damage. Telomeres act like a protective bumper, preventing our genes from getting damaged. Interestingly, the lifespan of a cell is tied to these telomeres. As the protective caps wear out, the cell eventually fades away. So, stronger telomeres mean the cell can live longer. The biologist dug deeper into this aspect by studying the length of these protective caps in Nicoyan DNA. The findings did not disappoint. Nicoyans turned out to have incredible telomeres. Of course, this doesn't mean these people are immune to stress. However, if you add their unique social structure and community, it helps them handle challenges better. Finally, we arrive in Ikaria, Greece, a place where locals also have a high chance of celebrating their 90th birthdays. Ikarians live active lives thanks to the mountainous terrain, and they foster strong social connections within their small communities. Their food habits align with the Mediterranean diet. It's packed with fruits and vegetables. Spiritual practices also influence many people to fast regularly. They even have an afternoon nap tradition that seems to help lower stress levels. Icarians are known to be self-sufficient. Many are shepherds, farmers, fishermen, business owners, and artisans. They take care of their own land and have gardens flourishing with organic produce. Even the younger Icarians are brought in to learn the trade. They begin to cultivate the earth and look after household animals during their teenage years. They see it as a way to preserve and honor their cultural heritage, rather than viewing it as a chore. If you're planning to visit a local shop, don't be surprised if it only swings its door open at 6 p.m. Likely, the owner woke up a mere 3 hours earlier. Of course, tourism on this beautiful island has nudged a little change. So, you might find some necessary places like mini grocery stores welcoming customers from as early as 10 a.m. Yet, the soul of this place isn't swayed too much by outsiders, so keep your expectations low.
You wake up with a start, feeling disoriented. You were dreaming of waterfalls and green fields just a moment ago, but now your body is tingling weirdly. It feels as if you don't have enough oxygen to breathe, which makes you panic a bit. You open your eyes and look around. Oh, you're inside your sleeping capsule. Whew! Its walls are littered with different buttons and tiny screens. You press one of them, and one of the sliding panels sweeps to the side. You crawl out of your pod. The absence of your windows or any natural lighting makes you feel as if you're underground. Dozens of sleeping capsules line the walls. The door leading out of the dorm is made of metal. It looks heavy and unmovable. But once you press the button on the wall next to it, the door opens smoothly and soundlessly. After walking up a dimly lit corridor for a while, you find yourself in a smaller room. There's at least half a dozen bulky spacesuits inside. There's another door in the room. It looks even sturdier than the previous one. If you wanted to open it, it wouldn't budge. First, you need to put on one of the spacesuits. As soon as it's on, the door automatically unlocks. After waiting for a while in an airlock chamber, you finally make a step outside. You look up and see a beautiful blue orb. It seems to be glowing. It's Earth, and you're standing near your home base on the moon. You walk towards your Jeep. It looks nothing like cars on Earth, though. The vehicle you climb into is pressurized, and you can even take off your spacesuit, or at least your helmet, and ride in comfort. If you need to go outside, well, yes, you can't do it without wearing your protective gear. One of your favorite rovers, produced by Toyota, is the size of 2 microbuses and can easily fit 2 passengers and their gear. Of course, you've got the experience of riding it with 3 other companions, but duh, you were squashed like sardines that time. The vehicle can also unfurl solar panels to generate power. After dealing with all the tasks you had on your list, you come back to your lunar home. Unlike your house on Earth, it looks more like a castle. Due to the extreme temperatures on the moon, the lack of oxygen, the constant threat of meteorites, and the never-ending barrage of radiation from the sun, it has to be super sturdy. The thing is, on Earth, we're protected by the atmosphere. Most meteorites burn while passing through it, and it also protects Earthlings from harmful ultraviolet radiation and creates the pressure without which liquid water couldn't exist on the surface of the planet. On the moon, there's no atmosphere like that. The very weak one that exists on our natural satellite is made up of some unusual gases that haven't been found in the atmospheres of Earth, Mars, or Venus. That's why people living on the moon have to take care of these issues themselves. The first towns on the moon were built in craters and covered with protective materials, like plastic reinforced with a net made of titanium and UV-resistant superfiber. The inhabitants had to access their homes through airlock entrances dug into a mound. Bilbo Baggins would surely appreciate their aesthetics. On the moon, gravity is way weaker than on our home planet. And while it makes it easier for you to walk and even run on the satellite surface, even despite your bulky spacesuit, it's not great in the long run. That's why inside lunar bases, there's an artificial gravitational field. Without it, people would have problems with coordination, balance, and orientation in space. Plus, weight-bearing bones would lose 1% to 1.5% of mineral density per month. And there would be many other problems with health. Anyway, these days, along with old settlements located in craters, there are new towns that look like transparent glass spheres. They make a beautiful picture when you look at them while approaching the moon after visiting your family on Earth. Next to many of these domes, you can spot tall sun-reflecting towers. They can simulate the day cycle to help human bodies function properly, as they used to be on our home planet. Inside, there's a breathable atmosphere and fixed atmospheric pressure. The floors look as if they're made from regular concrete, but the material used in the construction is lunar dust. A colony on Mars would cost us trillions of dollars to construct and inhabit. It would take a long time for even one cargo ship to reach the red planet. But lunar towns are much easier to build and maintain. There are direct spaceship routes connecting the satellite with Earth. And you need just 3 days to travel between these 2 points. That's one of the reasons the colonies on the moon are growing, developing, and changing non-stop. When people first came to the moon with the intention of building settlements, their main concerns were producing energy and getting oxygen and water for a comfortable life. Now, you have trash can-sized nuclear reactors that provide the towns on the moon's surface with steady power. Plus, in some regions of the satellite, for example near the South Pole, there is near-constant sunlight, which is great for getting solar power. That's one of the reasons why most lunar settlements are built in that area. Another thing that makes colonizing the moon easier is its ice. People living on the satellite use it to make hydrogen-oxygen rocket propellant. The main way to get the raw material is by using the regolith and ice drill for the exploration of new terrains. That's a piece of equipment designed for drilling in ice-cemented regolith and rock. This fuel is then used for cargo and passenger ships coursing between Earth and the moon. Right now, people are trying to derive oxygen and other useful products from lunar soil. More than 40% of the lunar crust is composed of oxygen. Of course, it's bound up in minerals in combination with other elements. These compounds are called oxides. You might have heard of quartz, aka silicon dioxide, It's the second most common mineral in Earth's crust. To move from one lunar town to another, you use moon Ubers, taxiing people and cargo. They're also called all-terrain hex-limbed extraterrestrial explorers, or athletes. They have 6 limbs that can grip cargo and roll or step over obstacles. Plus, they can switch out quick connect gripping and digging tools if you need them. They also carry people to and from launch pads, acting as lunar airport shuttles. But lunar towns aren't just placed where people live. They're innovative research hubs both for industry and science. They're also a popular tourist destination. Plus, people living there are tirelessly working on developing and constructing a special base for future Mars missions and the exploration of distant space. But let's have a look at how it all started. For instance, how the first lunar bases were built. Private landers descended on the surface of the moon and deployed inflatable modules, each around 4 stories tall. They served as residential areas, workspaces, industrial sites, and scientific labs. But those modules couldn't completely protect their inhabitants from harmful radiation, temperature swings, and the strikes of micrometeorites. So, people developed robots that could 3D print protective shells around each inflatable module. They used readily available regolith taken from the surface of the moon. It took the robots about 3 Earth months to finish solid domes. Some of these settlements were later connected with one another through a series of walkways linked to airlocks in each dome. At the same time, some of the towns remained separated, like those constructed in craters. When you visit Earth, you often look up at the sky, searching for your new home. Some of the lunar bases are visible if you're looking at them through a telescope. Others, partially hidden underground or covered with lunar rocks and soil for better protection, are almost impossible to spot.